everybody, this is Lynette with 13 Moons Homestead. Today we've had a break in the rain and I wanted to go out and take a walk and move a little. It's so pretty out here with the fog settled in around the trees. I thought I'd talk with you a bit about our goals for 2019 on the homestead. Every day that it's not pouring down rain and I'm not too busy, I try to get outside here and walk around and evaluate more of our property. Since we just moved in here in the fall, we didn't have the opportunity to put in a garden or anything, and that's kind of a bummer. We didn't have a harvest, but it's also good that I've had to take this time now and use it to look around and see what is actually already here. What actually still needs to be done in order for it to function as a homestead for us. So I get out and I walk around and we investigate. So we've been out in the woods and we've been checking out different structures on the property. If you've watched any of the videos so far, I've done, the before videos of several of the areas and buildings on our property. I still have more of those coming because I'm kind of dividing this all up into different projects that need to be managed. There's probably 3 to 5 years of deferred maintenance on this property, and it might take us a while to get it all back into order. So now that we've evaluated a good portion of the property, we're starting to form ideas of what we want to do with it and how we can use it. We decided yesterday we really need to have somebody come out and survey where the boundaries are, because we realized when looking at some tax maps and satellite maps that we're not exactly sure when we're walking around out here exactly where the property line is, and we want to be sure not to be doing anything on a neighbor's property. So probably that will happen soon. I have to find a land surveyor. Knowing that everything can't be first on the list, we're trying to prioritize what comes first. So I think definitely the first thing on the list is the garden. There's so much clearing that needs to be done that for 2019, if we establish the garden space as large as we can make it, because there are definitely limits because it's next to trees. If we can establish the garden space and get some raised beds built and the paths established and probably fence the perimeter, that would be amazing if we can accomplish all of that in 2019. And then the secondary goal after that is to plant something, to have any kind of a crop at all. I've had gardens in the past, but they were quite small, and it's been 20 years, 15 years at least, since I've done any, and it was on another coast from where I am. So, the zone is going to be completely different, and what I grew then is not necessarily what we eat now. So I need to really evaluate what can I grow here and learn gardening kind of all over again. It's not going to be the same as gardens from my childhood in Pennsylvania. It's not going to be the same as the gardens that I had in New Hampshire were in Oregon, and it's a very different climate. So I'm gathering books and I'm researching online and reveling in the seed catalogs that are coming in the mail now. And pretty soon here, it won't be long until we'll be starting seeds in the greenhouse, I hope. and definitely want to get something planted in the garden this year. I know it's not going to be a giant, over full, successful, beautiful garden in the first year because I don't know what I'm doing and the space is not yet established. So getting anything will be a major thing. And then following that, then the next goal is to preserve as much food as I possibly can. Hopefully a lot of it from our garden and from our orchard, but also whatever I can't do from our own growing efforts in our first year on the homestead. There are farmers markets in all the towns that are around us every year, and there's also farm stands. There's one just a mile from me out here in the country and another one a mile from that operate for a good portion of the year, and we only just discovered them when we moved here, and it was almost time for them to close already, and we were not prepared to preserve anything. So I'm hoping whatever I can't grow to be able to get a lot of that local and probably at pretty good prices, and grown without pesticides and such, whether it's actually labeled organic. I don't know what we'll be able to find yet until we investigate. But to be able to keep it cheaper, keep it local as much as possible, and preserve as much as I can. So part of that is actually like meal planning, like how many tomatoes do I need to make all the tomato products that we will use in a year. That's actually a lot of tomatoes. So we're doing all that kind of level planning too. And then also, when you preserve that much food, where do you store it? So we're looking at different methods of storage. I can, we can dehydrate, we can freeze. Those will probably be the three main things. I'm going to start trying some fermenting. I've never done that before. Obviously, that's shorter term storage if you want to keep the benefits of, the health benefits of the ferment. But some of that stuff can be canned later if it's just about preserving food. So we're researching all of that stuff and starting to put things down on paper and get a plan going. So along with the garden, another top priority for 2019 is to finish all of the renovations that we're doing inside the house. I haven't shown very much of that at all yet inside the house. I will be making some videos, and we've started making some videos in there to show how all of that is going. It's right now, we're still living in a sea of boxes. We have several storage units, and we're waiting to really fully unpack and move in until we can finish some of the renovations. And that's because the most major part of the renovation is our kitchen. The kitchen that is there currently hasn't been remodeled since 2003, and they didn't put new fixtures in there when they remodeled it. And the layout is very awkward. It's not really usable. So we're definitely tearing out all of the kitchen, and when that happens, it's going to open up the entire space to our living area. It's a really big, beautiful living area with a vaulted ceiling and a whole wall of north-facing windows. It's gorgeous. Just that the fixtures and the finishes need to be updated, and the kitchen needs to be usable. So that is going to take us a few months. We're pretty much doing all the work ourselves. I'm hiring some people to do the labor, and we'll hire in professionals for plumbing and electric, but it's just going to take a while. My husband still is working full-time, more than full-time. So the time that we have to work on it is somewhat limited. So I'll definitely be doing some videos to show you all what's going on in there. But those are the the top two things, and they're kind of equal on the list, is finishing the inside renovations and getting the garden space set up and usable and actually using it. And then after that, preserving food. If you've been watching the rest of our videos, all the things that I'm highlighting are projects we need to work on. Since this is our first year on the homestead, we're moving into what used to be a horse farm, and what we want to do is turn it into a homestead that supports our family in a more complete way. And we don't have horses, and the maintenance on this land it has been deferred for a while, so we need to make improvements all the way around. The buildings and the land are at a place where they're not decrepit, nothing's falling down, it's not out of control, but it would be if it had gone a couple years more. So it's at a point where we just need to come in and at least make basic repairs so that things don't get worse, and then slowly start working on improvements to make them fit what we need. So I have to say that all of the things that I've been talking about, the barn and the pasture and the studio and the garden and the greenhouse, and videos I haven't even done yet on the orchard and the deck and other projects, and the inside renovations, they're kind of all goals for 2019. We're very realistic. We know everything is not going to be finished in 1 year's time. That's just not going to happen. But we do need to do a little bit on everything in order to preserve at the very least, and then move forward on some goals. So the top ones being the garden and getting things planted and getting some food preserved, and the kitchen so we can actually eat the food and preserve the food. And just have our general living space back and finish moving in. And then after that, we're probably actually going to be looking at livestock earlier than I originally assumed. Goats in particular, because there's just so many blackberries, and as we're walking the property, we're finding that there are things in the way. Like, I can't come through with a brush hog. A lot of it is treed anyway, and there's not space, but we're finding bricks and garbage in random places and things that would get caught up in a mower or trimmer or something. So, but things that would not really hurt a goat. They can get around bricks. They can go up and down on hillsides too. And this is a kind of a hilly property, so it's something that I'm investigating a little harder now, is livestock, because I kind of thought I might get chickens in the spring, and then it might be a year before I got anything else. And now we're kind of thinking that might not be the case. We might get stuff earlier. So we've really stepped up now the research, and so some of the projects that would support having animals on the homestead are definitely going to move up the list also. So we'll follow along with us, and we'll keep you updated on all of that.